Hey guys, AllSports83 here with another edition of XFL Casual, and today I just want to spend a few minutes talking about why I'm in such support of the rule changes we're seeing in the XFL. Of course, many of these unique rules were put to the test in 2020, and for the most part, they really worked out pretty well and generated interest in the league. So I just want to go over the big ones and explain why I like them so much. Of course, this video is just my opinion, and I welcome to hear your opinion in the comment section below. Let's get started. So the kickoff has to be the first thing we talk about here. I mean, it's the first major change any fan will see in an XFL game, so I think we should talk about it. I'll admit that it took a bit of getting used to the first time I saw it, or the first few times I saw it back in 2020, but to be honest, I really got used to it pretty quickly. What I did learn about the play is that it strikes the perfect balance between keeping the game exciting and focusing on player safety. Look, I know I sound like an apologist for the XFL here, so let me try and explain in my own words what I mean. As player safety becomes a higher focus in sports as a whole, it's increasingly difficult to change rules to accomplish the goal without creating conflict either with the fans or with players themselves. Take the targeting rule, for example. I'm not sure anyone disagrees with the rule's intent, but it's hard to ask a player who is supposed to be going 100% all of the time in order to keep his job to just pull up and not give his all in that moment of contact. And so it makes it very, very difficult, especially based on a judgment call from a referee. That's a tough ask for a defender. Back to the XFL kickoff rule, and you don't have that problem. With this style of kickoff, you have found a way to do two things without asking players to compromise their effort on the field. Number one, they have saved the kickoff return as a play in the game, bringing excitement back to that portion of the game. And number two, they have increased player safety by eliminating those high-velocity impacts, and players don't have to give less effort in fear of a penalty. Keep in mind that 92% of kickoffs were returned in 2020 for the XFL, and it was a fun play to watch. I know the football purists out there will say they have doubts, but I'd be willing to suggest that those same purists would be upset if the kickoff were eliminated altogether from the game, which has been discussed in recent years, even with the NFL. I know I don't want to see the kickoff disappear myself, and I certainly grew to love the XFL kickoff in 2020. Best of all, it wasn't just a gimmick. It was implemented for legitimate reasons that are important to the game and the players that play the game. So I can't be mad about this rule change. And I look forward to seeing this kickoff rule again when the season gets underway here in the next week or so. The next major rule structure in the XFL is what happens after scoring a touchdown. And while this video is mostly what I like about the unique rules in the XFL, I'm not sure I would have done the extra point system exactly this way. I'm fine with having 1 point, 2 point, and 3 point conversions, but for the reasons I just highlighted about kickoffs, I don't want to see the traditional PAT kick eliminated from the game. I would simply keep the 1 point kick, maybe have the ball placed at the 20-yard line, and then you could have the 2 and 3 point conversions as advertised from the 5 and 10-yard line. In all honesty, there is a risk in all three of these options, and the 1 point kick placed at the 20-yard line makes that a 37-yard field goal. Probably not that automatic for spring league kickers, if we're honest. It may encourage other conversion attempts more consistently, but at least the kick is still in the game. That's just my thought. However, the system is pretty good as it stands. It's not terrible, and it certainly gives teams options and keeps the game exciting for fans. With 9 points as a one-possession game and 18 points considered a two-possession game, it feels like blowouts will not be common in the XFL, and that's the idea. And I would have to say that I support that initiative overall, especially for those who attend games. I wouldn't want to drag my family to the game, spend money on tickets and food, only for the game to be over halfway through the third quarter. I know television is where the money is these days, but atmosphere plays a key role at the stadium, and that atmosphere comes through the television. These extra point rules seem to only aid in keeping the excitement high, so I'm pretty much in favor of them. Moving on, I want to talk a little bit about some of the timing rules for the XFL. Starting with the 35-second play clock, this may be a challenge to the coaches and players as they have less time to call plays and get the next play off before a penalty for delay of game. I'm not telling you anything that you don't know, but this is a plus for the fans because there's going to be a lot less dead time. There may be an adjustment period for the players and coaches, as I've said, but this is professional football, and they're professionals. They'll figure it out. Also, to help the pace of the games are the XFL play reviews, and they're a bit different where each game has a designated review person in the booth and is able to overrule calls on the field. It seemed to work pretty well in 2020, and really, I like the media access for the fans. In fact, during these games, when there was a moment where the review person had to make a call on the field and communicate with the referees, it was actually quite fun to watch. I mean, it didn't feel like there was any dead space in the game. It was just something different to enjoy. So I thought it really worked out through the television, and I think it's going to be just the same as we get things kicked off here on February 18th. The big thing with the access is that it provides some accountability to the referees and the booth review person. At the least, fans will know exactly why a call is made or changed as they hear the conversation in real time. In addition, each coach gets a single challenge during the game, and they can challenge penalties even. I think that's actually what they're going to be encouraged to challenge, not just any other kind of rule thing because of the review. But I think this is an interesting idea, and I think it's going to work out pretty well. This is a very unique approach, this one challenge thing, and being able to challenge penalties. So we'll just see how that works out. Next, and very quickly, there is the double forward pass rule from 2020. Honestly, I haven't heard if that's making a comeback, and I'm assuming that it is because the reports that the rule book is mostly the same from 2020, apart from the small changes that they've made coming into the season, like the 35-second play clock and the single coaching challenge. I really don't think it matters because the rule played no role almost in 2020. Because the first pass has to be thrown and received behind the line of scrimmage in order for the second pass to be legal, basically it was like a lateral and wasn't much different from traditional football. Finally, let's talk about a couple of end-game structures, which are still unproven concepts, but they sound pretty exciting. First is the replacement of the onside kick, where a team trailing in the fourth quarter can elect to attempt a 4th and 15 conversion to keep the ball. Again, it's just a concept because we didn't get a chance to see this back in 2020, and so we haven't seen it, but I just like the idea. There has never been a time where the onside kick was exciting because they almost never work. Add the rule changes over the past few years in the NFL, and they're almost impossible to convert, so it's kind of a throwaway play. But with the 4th and 15 concept, not only does it increase the chance of success, but it's decided by the offense and defense. Think of it this way. Late in a game, when a trailing offense is driving and faced with a 4th down conversion to keep the game alive, isn't this one of the most exciting plays in all of football? So I applaud the effort in recreating that play in a substitute for a dead play like the onside kick. The second in-game structure and final topic for this video is the overtime rules. And I think the XFL tried to stay consistent with keeping the game flowing and reducing the time it takes to complete a game. So, having each team attempt 3 two-point conversion scores and letting the chips fall where they may is quite the intriguing idea in my opinion. I like the fairness that each team gets equal opportunity to put up points. It also feels like overtime won't drag on forever. So this feels like a way to keep overtime exciting, but allow fans to either leave the game in a respectable amount of time or just move on with the rest of your day if you watched on television. I also like that each offense gets all 3 attempts in one session before shifting to the other team's attempts. I think it eliminates more dead time and keeps the flow of overtime more consistent. If they were to keep swapping out offense and defense after each attempt, I think that would just be more difficult to watch. Again, I know I sound overly positive for some, but I really just want to call them like I see them. Most of these unique rules really set the XFL apart, and they did in 2020. And the ones that we haven't seen yet, they really just look great in concept. But hey, that's my opinion. I look forward to hearing yours below as always. What's your favorite rule for the XFL? Or what would you change? Make sure to let me know. I'm interested to see it. Until then, have a good one.